Welcome to Tansson TV Plus. I'm Brandon,
And I'm Mom.
and we have yet another movie discussion. We are starting off December strong.
Yep, we are. And Brandon, our first movie that we're going to discuss is Home Alone.
Yes, and we are speaking about the first one that was released in 1990.
And yes, and for our movie discussion, just so everyone knows, we're attempting to find some holiday movies to talk about. We can't promise that all in December will be holiday movies, but we're going to attempt to do that.
Yes, we are. And so, like we said before, this movie was released November 16th of 1990. And Mom, if you can go ahead and start us off, and I hope that you're doing well.
I am doing fine, Brandon. Thank you for asking. Yes, overall, this is basically about a young boy. I believe he was 8 years old. His parents are getting ready to go on vacation, and there were multiple families in the house. But regardless of that, they left him home alone. Instead of going to the airport, the mom didn't realize it until that she was on her way to Paris that she left one of her children at home.
Well, Mom, thank you so much for that.
You're welcome. And I know that's very, very brief. There are a lot of escapades that do go on when he is home alone. There's someone who tries to rob his family, and we learn how Kevin kind of defends himself in that process.
Yes, and as we were mentioning a little bit before recording this, is that this truly is a Christmas classic.
It is. It is. I think of it as a modern Christmas classic.
Yes, well, overall, we can dive right into it. So, Mom, what did you think about this movie?
Well, I did like it. I saw it probably when it came out. It came out in 1990, so I saw it about that time frame. And then, but it was years, as I kind of mentioned to you and your brother, it was probably like 25 years later, more than that maybe, when I saw it again. And I watched it with you and your brother. And I know we all enjoy watching the first, second, and a third one. I think we all kind of watched them all in a row. And so, yes, so to answer your question, yes, I did like it, and yes, I would watch it again.
Yes, I certainly, let's say, would watch it again. We did watch it again,
Yeah.
but yes, and so I did think we want to speak about a little bit as to why we believe this is a modern classic.
Yeah, well, to me, a classic is a movie that you actually remember what's going on, and the plot itself kind of stands out. And so, for me, for this movie, not only did the plot stand out, the music stood out also. You remember the season that it occurred. You kind of remembered roughly the ins and outs of the movie itself. We talked a little bit before we came together about things that we actually remembered about the movie. And I was trying to remember about scenes that I remembered when I saw years and years ago. And so one of the things that kind of stand out to me is really that bathroom scene with the scream, and that I think is shown for every trailer that you kind of can find on this particular movie. Um, the traps that Kevin sets for the robbers are things that kind of stand out also. There's a scene of him running up the stairs that kind of stands out, and then also there's some movie clips that they play throughout the movie, and that in itself kind of stands out also. And so those are things scenes that I kind of remembered. Brand, I know we kind of talked, and I think some of those overlap with you, but were there any other different ones that stood out to you?
Yes, well, those are largely, like I said, the ones that stood out to me. And in regards to the movies, there's certain ones that like I remember. For instance, the ones that he'd play, like when someone's at the door, for instance. I do remember that he was doing a lot of roaming around, and the little dinner that he was making himself right before the robbers came in. So I mean, things like that. But overall, that's the gist of it. Oh, and that was the mom while on the plane that figured it out.
Yes. And then there were some things that we talked about that I did not remember at all. And I don't know why I didn't remember, but the first thing was that the robber being in the house initially, that I just completely forgot about. And that the robber was in the house at the same time the whole family was there, and he was acting as a police officer. And there were a lot of people who saw him there, but no one really, they spoke to him, but they didn't have a real conversation with him. And so that was something I just did not remember. And the other thing that I really didn't remember was the backstory of the older gentleman who's in here, in regards to the gentleman who was kind of who was not speaking with his son. And so I remember the older gentleman being in the movie. I just forgot his backstory. Was there anything that you just didn't remember that actually ended up being important to the plot?
I mean, one of the things I just didn't remember in general was with the extended families, all being there at the beginning of the movie. I didn't quite remember that. I knew that there was a ton of people in that house, but not necessarily like the uncles, and I guess there was some aunts in there, cousins. I mean, to me, they were just all siblings in my memory.
Yeah, I understand. Well, there were a lot of kids going running around there. Yeah. And then one of the things I thought was interesting is that the mother's the only one who thought about her child on the plane. The dad never said a word about he could possibly be missing a child. And so I thought that was really interesting. But what did you think? What were your thoughts about that?
Yeah, well, first of all, one other thing that I didn't remember was the whole thing with the neighbor kid and how they accidentally counted him. And I'm curious as to the whole thing that the mom was the only one that seems to have any sort of urgency or care about anything because I know the power went out and disrupted all the clocks, but are you saying that mom's watch is the only clock that worked in that whole house with all of those people?
Yeah, that's true too. And that was interesting to see that they just didn't know. So, and you're right. With especially with all those adults in the house, it wasn't just children there. There were a lot of adults in the house too.
Yeah, especially with the transport vans outside waiting, and they've been waiting for hours. Like they didn't knock on the door, ring the doorbell. I mean, they didn't try it at all. They've just been waiting.
I guess so. I guess things were a little different at that time period.
Not only that, but I mean, they probably could have known something was up because their garage had apparently been open this whole time.
I know, I know, and that's what the dad was. I think that's what the dad remembered, was that the garage doors was open rather than remember his child was missing.
Yeah. Nor did we ever see the garage being closed,
No, never did, never did.
and the robbers didn't seem to take them either.
Nope, left everything in there.
But yeah, so definitely quite peculiar. But yeah, it's interesting like what we do and don't remember. And would you say that nostalgia also takes a play in our rewatch?
I think so. I think so because and it's been hyped up to be the movie of that time period also, and so yes, the nostalgia does play a role in it.
Yes, and something that I thought was interesting because it showed lots of classic movies. One of them being with the Grinch, and I had to do some research, and so because it's just like, well, I would foresee it being a classic, which is one of the reasons that they showed it in this movie. But there's actually been more distance between present day right now and from when Home Alone came out than the time between the Grinch and Home Alone.
Wow, wow, that's amazing.
Yes, I believe the Grinch came out in 1966, whereas Home Alone came out in 1990. Um, so yeah, but so that's about 24 years, I believe. Whereas right now it's been 34
34.
years since
Yes,
Home Alone.
yes. Well, Brandon, would you rewatch the movie?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I'll definitely rewatch that. I don't remember the sequels as much, to the best of my knowledge, but I do remember this one. I believe it's exactly how I remembered it for the most part.
Hmm.
And so I've definitely rewatch this.
Yeah, I know, and they've got a newer version out that we talked about seeing. So we'll see whether or not we see that newer version.
Yes, the new version is Home Sweet Home Alone. It came out a few years ago. It's been on our to watch list for quite a while, but we still
Yeah,
haven't gotten around to it yet.
yeah, yeah. If you guys see us, let us know. Is that a movie we should watch?
Yeah, so definitely let us know that. And we do have one small connection.
Oh, what's our connection, Brandon?
So we actually recognize the lady at the airport as someone that we've seen in one of our TV shows.
Yep, Billy Bird. Yep, she was on Benson, and among many other things that she has played in.
Yes, yes. And so it's always nice seeing these little connections, no matter how big or small.
It is. It is.
But yes, and then even though we haven't spoken about him yet, the way that I presume is her husband, he's played in as a guest in so many different shows that we have seen.
Oh yeah, I can't recall his name though.
But yes, and so yeah, but definitely so many as like connections around. And Mom, are you ready to continue on this month of December?
I sure am, Brandon. I sure am. We've got some movies listed that we hope to watch that are movies that we have never seen before. And to me, sometimes those are the easier ones to talk about, the ones that we have not seen.
Yeah, and so I'm definitely excited for us to check those out.
I sure am too. All right, we can't wait to hear what you guys are watching during the holiday season. Let us know.
Yes, definitely. Let us know and leave a comment.
Yes. All right, thank you so much for joining us today.
And we'll see you next time.
All right, have a great day, everybody.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.